Thank you, Philip, and your tales of travelling to arid places reminded me of my share of wild and remote places, and I went for about 10 days to trek through northern Kenya and the sort of semi-desert areas there, but I chose El Nino at that time, and the camels I was walking with could hardly move because of the deluge of water that was falling on my head in one of the driest parts of the world. But it is a great pleasure to be here at last, and I apologise that you've seen me two-dimensionally in the past. It is really me, it's not a hologram. I know at least 2 out of the 3 times I was coming, but the fates, in whatever form, conspired to make that impossible. But I'm really pleased to be here. I was fine meeting with AONB members, boards of the National Association, utterly invigorating. You've always got full of ideas, you're full of enthusiasm, and whenever I visit an AONB, I come back brimming with ideas and to terrify my team. I think actually your choice of coming to this part of the world this year is inspired. This area has special challenges. It has a large, intensive agriculture sector. It has an increasing population. It has rainfall that in some areas averages some of similar rainfalls you'd find in not far from sub-Saharan Africa. We have coastal erosion challenges, and it's an area where climate change is perhaps the most apparent in the United Kingdom. And so I think you are in for a fascinating time. As some of you know, I live in an AONB. I've been involved with that AONB on and off for many years in its development. And I think that the work that the National Association does in trying to draw together best practice and trying to make sure that there is a coherent voice from designated landscapes is something that is so important, never more important than today. So I'd like to pay tribute to the immense contribution the National Association staff and board members have in promoting AONBs in recent years and acting as a family across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. And I'm particularly interested to hear of the profile and identity work that the National Association have been developing. In place-based organisations which attract passions locally about local concerns, it is hard sometimes to try and look at that in a national context. But we must. We really must if we want to have a voice that is heard, not just across government, but across so many different agencies, facing so many different challenges. And so I think that work, in addition to the excellent work being done to make at both a local and national level to ensure closer working with national park authorities, is really important. As you know, I've been hugely impressed with the work of AONBs, particularly in your use of innovative methods to deliver real results using a genuine partnership approach. However, for all of us, whether in government or in organisations like yours, simply resting on our laurels, whether they're environmental or whatever, is not enough. You've asked me today to come and talk about the challenges around water and how that interacts with landscapes and the challenges ahead. But I want to widen this. It is a massive issue for anybody who's interested in the issues that surround massive time for anyone who's interested in the issues that surround water. Whether it's its availability, how we make sure we have enough for consumers, and for the environment. And in government, we are doing a lot on water at the moment. We published a white paper, a water bill going through Parliament. We have our catchment management approach to dealing with the requirements of the Water Framework Directive. And really importantly, we're reforming our much outdated abstraction regime. All of this is right on your doorstep. You get the whole landscape scale conservation concept. It's why you exist, and you are in a prime spot to help deliver this key part of our agenda. If anyone questions whether rivers and water as an agenda is a tad narrow for an AONB, I'm sure that you will remind them of how fundamental it is to the landscape. In rather different climatic conditions, some time ago, I had a fascinating visit to the Denham Vale, and it was Arctic. The train that I was travelling back on broke down. The loo had frozen over, and the door wouldn't close. And across this rather flat bit of landscape of East Anglia, it felt exactly like Dr. Zhivago. I thought people would start throwing their babies on the train, saying, "I may never see Chelmsford, but my child can." But part of that visit was to go to Flatford Mill, and that reminds me that nearly every landscape painting or scenery involves a river, a watercourse, or the catchment that feeds it. And I frankly say this, it should be shaming, it is shaming for us, that between 2/3 and 3/4 of our rivers are at some degree failing ecosystems. In this country, we are responsible for some environmental jewels. We have 80% of the world's chalk streams in the south and east of England. But while the headline statistics are depressing, I'm actually an optimist. I think over the next decade, we'll start to see real results. We are already seeing improvements, but we will start seeing real results from the catchment approach and how it's going to deliver for our rivers. But this is the point. We in government can't do it ourselves. And this is where you can play, and I know you are playing, a huge role. The government is doing all it can to encourage growth in the rural economy. And we really want to see rural businesses fly. How do we best encourage the growth of rural business? Well, today I want to mention, in that wider context around water and the environment, just some of the current developments around the approach that we all call payment for ecosystem services, which are relevant to the theme of your conference. And I know AONBs and national park authorities are playing a major role in helping to deliver. This is an approach that goes beyond traditional government finance schemes. It's innovative and it's exciting. Let me repeat one message from the Natural Environment White Paper, where our partners gave us a very clear direction that, and I quote, "effective action to benefit nature, people, and the economy locally happens when the right people come together in partnership." In the context of developing payments for ecosystem services, the government and organisations like yours have a role in capacity building, particularly amongst farmers and landowners, in the sharing of best practice in your areas, in removing the barriers that could enable opportunities to develop. And undoubtedly, the whole of this new and exciting area of thinking is a challenge. However, one of the things we've learned is the importance of partnership workings, and AONBs have a key role to act as intermediaries, facilitating the right conditions, and really importantly, trust. Let's take the example of flood protection. Some of the more substantial so-called soft engineering actions, such as restoring rivers, re-establishing new washlands, and restoring catchments, may involve significant upfront expenditure for landowners and farmers. So we've got to think of ways that are clever in getting incentives to them in the right way. These measures that these farmers and landowners will be carrying out on their lands, in some cases are carrying out, of no direct benefit to their daily functioning of their business in many cases. In some cases, it actually reduces the capital value if it means an area is more likely to flood because it's holding water back from a community downstream. So we've got to be really smart in trying to make sure we are triggering and incentivizing them in the right way. An example of this is the Broadland Flood Alleviation Project, which provides a range of flood defence improvements, maintenance and emergency response services. 240 kilometres of flood bank defences shield 24,000 hectares of land and 1,700 properties from flood risk, but also, this is crucial, benefit farming and tourism and are key to the local economy. This was the first major public-private partnership programme contract of its scale for flood risk management work. Another example is in the uplands. Moorland water catchments on United Utilities land have seen major improvements which have benefited business and benefited water consumers, as well as the natural beauty of places like the Forest of Bowland. Other water companies are also exploring the benefits of catchment and aquifer management, not least in downland areas such as mine and the AONBs that protect us. Under the price review for 2015 to 2020, Ofwat, the economic regulator, are reviewing the regulatory framework to encourage water companies to consider more innovative and sustainable solutions, including catchment management. The opportunities for the natural environment, opportunities for all of us who love rivers and want to see a net gain for the natural environment are massive here. Ofwat is a crucial player and is in a key position to safeguard both the consumer and the business benefits, while at the same time having due regard to AONBs and conserving natural beauty. It's about making sure that we can say to farmers and land managers, if you can change the way you operate so that the water coming out of our environment systems is cleaner and saving us from having to put in steel and concrete, that is a huge gain for us all. But in terms of regulation, what it's done in the past is they've said, well, it's hard to measure. When you build a nice big water treatment plant, we can measure the quality of the water going in and the quality of the water going out, and we can say that asset is working. But you can't do that with an upland catchment approach. So we've got to be brave, and we've got to say, well, some of them won't work. Some of them will work better than others. But just saying we can't tell to the nth degree how well it is working is not an excuse for inaction. Is no excuse for inaction. So I want to see, out of this price review, a plethora of the sort of schemes we've seen in the West Country, not far from here, also up in the Northwest, such as the Scamp project. There are options for genuine win-wins here, if together we can think long-term and see the whole ecosystem in a holistic way, and make the case for change, both locally and nationally. It's true that benefits on the ground, as I say, are not visible or tangible immediately. And nothing ministers like more than cutting ribbons on great big new hard engineering works. But it's less easy to see the benefits in a city like this, many miles away from where these good environmental projects have been happening, or where a new washland area has been created. And it can lead to scepticism, and it's a challenge we need to face. There's real value in thought-through public communications, which clearly present the benefit of projects when they're in their early stages. Peatlands form a significant part of the UK's natural capital, which, if in good condition, store carbon, regulate water quality and provide many other services. The North Pennines and Nidderdale contain prime examples, as I think you saw at last year's conference. However, according to the IUCN, around 80% of the UK peatlands are degraded. Investing in restoration will help, but it is a massive undertaking, with high short-term costs and relatively slow improvements to hydrology and biodiversity. The Yorkshire Peat Partnership is an absolutely fantastic scheme. It recently reached the 10,000 hectare restoration milestone. A quarter of Yorkshire's damaged peatlands across the national parks and AONBs. This would not have been possible without the hard work and sort of inspirational leadership of people in this room and beyond it, but also the key commitment of farmers, gamekeepers and landowners. One landowner, Richard Johnson, in the Yorkshire Dales, whose cooperation will lead to the restoration of 435 hectares of peatland, said this: "Working with organisations to deliver restoration can be a challenge, but with cooperation, communication, and often compromise, the best outcome can be achieved for both Yorkshire's peatlands and also those who work and derive their livelihood from the moorland areas, with resulting benefits for the local economy. Win-wins. This is about a virtuous circle, and we've got to see more of it. Finally, work is going on to investigate developing a peatland code, where businesses could pay for peatland restoration as part of their carbon reduction commitments. And I know that you're all alive to such messages. Linking agri-environment schemes, Pillar 1 funding, which I know is a concern to many people, with private payments is also a challenge in delivering ecosystem services. Many potential schemes involve farmland, which is already covered by an agri-environment scheme. If private sector funding is to be combined with public funding, then the public sector element needs to be paying for additional benefits beyond those accruing to the private sector, so we avoid paying people twice. Or perhaps we need to approach such markets differently. The acid test will be whether such initiatives can lever in more income streams to protect and enhance the natural environment for the benefit of society and the economy. Water is, of course, vital to us all. Conserving the natural resource of water will help deliver natural beauty, and AONBs are key to delivering these aspirations. Now, you may have seen that Constable's greatest painting of Salisbury Cathedral was recently saved for the nation for 23 million. Rightly so. But you may, in an idle moment, have calculated that the same sum would have kept Dedham Vale AONB going for 100 years. Public funding will continue to reduce over the foreseeable future. And I know every audience I talk to, as we've worked through the difficulties of the spending review, there is one giant elephant in the room, and I'm not going to duck it. But over the next few weeks, you will hear how we are planning to resource AONBs in the future. But if you forget everything else I say, know that we know you unlock huge benefits for the rural economy. We want to see the rural economy grow. We want to see the environment improve. You are doing what we want, and we want you to continue to be able to do it as much as you can. The whole of the Defra network of delivery bodies are playing their part, including working in smarter and more efficient ways and finding ways to generate more income. To that end, as part of the Rural Economy Growth Review, I'm really pleased to see the interest in tourism in AONBs, and recognise that in AONBs, tourism is an area of real importance and deserved a lift. I'm so delighted that we've been able to formally endorse the Tourism Accord between Visit England and the National Association and Defra, which came out of the Growth Review. And looking to the future, all of us will need to consider new ways of making best use of and maximising private sources of funding. And I'll just say this about one possible area, that is biodiversity offsetting. We are shortly going to publish a paper, which I hope you will read and examine. But I ask you to do this. Please look at it, as I'm sure it is in your nature to do so, in a glass half full way of thinking. We have to face facts that there is not going to be more money from Europe, Westminster, local authorities, or any national source of funding for biodiversity. So we've got to be smarter and clever. Now, if biodiversity offsetting is done wrong and badly, it will have a net worsening effect on our economy and on the beauty of our landscapes and on our countryside. But if it is done right, if it is done cleverly, it can have a massive net gain for all the things that we mind about. And I have to say I was depressed to be talking to the chief executive of a very large NGO recently, who all he could say to me was that, oh, well, you can't recreate a hay meadow in less than a century. If it's gone, it's gone. Well, Miriam Rothschild might disagree with him, by the way. She developed that concept of actually being able to do it. But we are not talking about requiring ancient semi-natural woodland to suddenly appear. You can't magic some of these things in a fortnight. But if we can see a way of inevitable developments happening, and that being offset locally by something that is a net gain for the natural environment, that is managed by an organisation that is trusted locally with good environmental credentials, then surely, at the very least, we should be looking at it in a positive way as we start to develop the thinking around biodiversity offsetting. So I really do big this up to you as a possible source of funding for things that we all mind about. And whilst you undoubtedly have been successful in so much of what you've done, there is much more to do. I think that the continuing close working between designated landscapes, between agencies such as Natural England and the Environment Agency and core Defra is absolutely vital. I spoke on film to you at the last conference you had, and I did use the word heroic. I don't think that what AONBs do is understood enough by people in the wider community. Perhaps that's all our fault. We should do more to shout about our triumphs. But I do think that there are some extraordinary examples of really committed work that you have done, both locally and as an association nationally. I want to see more of it, and I want to make sure that you are playing a key part in delivering what we want for the future, which is to see these beautiful landscapes protected, and we want to see more money levered, geared out of what you can deliver locally, and an understanding of the importance of that nationally. Thank you very much.